Hey, it's Greg here with MaritimeGardening.com, and this video is about moving things you don't want to move and coming to the determination they have to be moved anyway. When you've got perennials, it's important that they're in the right place, right? And the longer they're in that place, the bigger they get and the more the root systems get developed. So if they're in the wrong place, they're going to have to be moved anyway, right? So it is spring. It's like the first, second week of April. And a lot of my perennials, you know, different kinds of berry bushes, they're starting to bud out, they're starting to grow. This is a grapevine. It's not starting yet. The grapevine's usually behind a lot of things. Behind me here, I've got a haskap. That I can see the buds are starting to swell up. But this grapevine, I put it here last fall. It was in another place, and that was the wrong place. And I put it here because I was in a rush to get a lot of things done. And I've just realized that it's in the wrong place. It's too close. There's a blueberry bush over there it's too close to, and there's going to be a tree behind it, and it just doesn't work. And what needs to happen is this needs to come this way about 2-3 feet. That doesn't sound like much, but it's just in the wrong place. And now some of you will see that I've got a fence along here, and you'll say, why don't you put it against the fence? Right? Which ordinarily that's a really good decision because your fence is a natural trellis. But this is a forest over here, a wild forest. And it's been my experience that when you've got grapes hanging off a fence in a wild forest, it draws a lot of attention to your garden. Attention you don't want, right? So yeah, you know, you just don't want, you know, the raccoons, porcupines, whatever, black bears, right? You don't want those things getting interested in your garden. Now, a lot of animals walk along the side of the garden here, but they don't tend to climb in. I had a black bear come in once to get at my apple trees. That wasn't great, but it's only happened once. Well, hopefully it doesn't happen again. But anyway, so right against the fence, not going to work here. But it has to be, you know, far enough from the fence that I can get on either side of the berry bush. It's handy with berry bushes to access it from both sides, especially like grapes, right? So I want it far enough, basically I want it at arm's length from the fence. But the whole thing, it's going to come this way, it's going to go that way, right? When you're planting a grapevine, they get quite long. They can grow 20 feet in each direction, right? They can get quite large or larger, right? So I need to put it somewhere where it can have space to do that. Now, if you look along here, right here, I've got blackberry bushes. These have to come out every year somehow, even though I've got all kinds of fencing here. A rabbit finds its way in and it cuts the blackberries off about a foot high and just destroys the harvest for the year. It's happened every single year. So this is just not the place to have blackberries. I really have no place for them. I don't know what I'm going to do with these things, but this spot's no good. So this will just be a walking path, right? I'll have the trellis for the vine going along here so I can get on this side of it and that side of it. So basically it'll grow along that line, okay? All the way down here, right? I've got a berry bush here. This has to be moved because it's going to be in the shade of that grapevine, right? Not a great time to move it because I can see the buds. You can see the buds are starting to, you know, swell up a bit. And it's a mature plant. It's been there about 3 years. But there's just no point in leaving it here. It's got no future in this spot. I got a place I can put it where it should get what it needs. So I'm going to move that today, pull that out of the ground, right? Over here, I've got this is oregano. That's going to come out. You know, this is just going to be where this little bed is and where that little bed is. It's just going to be a walking path, right? I mean, I have trouble with these things getting inundated from weeds coming in from the outside anyway. I mean, a lot of my viewers have said, oh, why don't you mow the other side? I mean, you know, see how much fence I got? I'm not mowing around this fence. The ground's completely uneven. It's completely wild. You know, people would say, why don't you put wood chips there? The kind of things that grow here, they just go underneath wood chips. There's no competing with the weeds on the outside of this thing. It's just not worth it, right? You're better off either, what I'll be doing down here is laying a few layers of cardboard and then putting wood chips over it. I'll control the weeds on this side, right? It's just an ongoing battle. It's not that big a deal, and it doesn't eat up much of my time. Anyway, there's all kinds of crazy wild things growing in there, and they travel underground. They send roots over and up, right? So I found that along the edge, it's handy to plant things like potatoes, things you're going to dig up, right? Things you're going to turn the soil over to get at, because just otherwise, it just doesn't work to have perennials along this edge. It just doesn't. So anyway, that's another topic, maybe another video. Today I got to pull that grapevine out, and I got to pull that Hascat berry plant out. So let's get at it. Alright, so that part's done. All that's left to do now is water it and get a good mulch on there. I'm waiting for some wood chips to be delivered. I'm going to do this whole end of the garden with wood chips when they finally arrive. When you were watching me move this thing, it appeared like I was being kind of rough with it, and I probably was, but to me it's just about, I mean, you can only be so gentle when you've got hard physical work to do, especially when you're working on your own. So you just get it done, right? Plants are tougher than people think. And I mean, this was just moved last October, I think is when I moved it. And you can see I just pulled it right out of the ground, right? When I initially moved this here from the other spot, I had to use axes and saws, and it was incredibly hard to get it out because it had such a well-established root system, but it wasn't established at all. So I really don't think I did much to it. You know, I think this is alive because I cut into some of the vines and they still have some green, right? They're not like, the branches are bendy, not snappy, put it that way, or a dead branch snaps. An alive branch will bend and it'll have some green in it. So I think this is still alive. It's not going to have a very good year, you know, and I'm resigned to that, right? What little life, I mean, basically there's some energy in the roots, and the roots are able to get some nutrients out of the water, but the root system's pretty messed up, right? So, you know, my goal for this year is just for this plant to not die, put on some leaves, get situated, get grown. So all that's left to do now is build a nice trellis for it to grow. It's going to go about 15 feet that way and 15 feet that way, and I think this will be a good new home for my grapes. And if I killed it, that's no, so what? It was in the wrong place anyway, right? If I killed it, I'll buy another grape plant next year and plant it. It's just not the end of the world, right? So anyway, I guess this video is a long roundabout way of saying if you got to move something, move it. It doesn't matter if you kill it because it's got to be moved. If it's in the wrong place, it's in the wrong place. You got to move it, right? If you want to get the best use out of your space, you know, you have limited space. You know, I have a large property, but The only part of the property I can have a garden on is the fenced enclosure, right? Anything that animals will eat has to be inside the fence. So I have a limited space in that sense because you know, there's a certain size of fenced area I can't really go beyond. I've kind of fenced in everything I can fence in terms of what's available to me here. So this is the space. So I'm trying to make the best use of the space. This, as far as I can tell, is the only place I can have a grape plant, because grape plants, you know, they're like 5 feet high and they're big and long and they cast shade. And so there's only so much you can, you know, they can't just be anywhere, right? They have to get all the light they can possibly get. But, you know, when the grapes are getting all of that light, they're casting shade on something, and so they shut down the part of your garden where they're casting shade, right? So these are all decisions you have to make. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. Just one of those, like, out in the garden, dealing with stuff, and you know, sharing my process with you to help you make those tough decisions, because it's a big part of gardening, right? Just I've been staring at this all winter long, and even this morning I came out and I probably paced around the garden for about an hour, rethinking it. And I just said, just Greg, turn the camera on, pull it out of the ground and move it and get it over with. So it's done. Now we're just gonna water it. So I hope you found that interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, and until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching. Hey folks, if you live in the USA and want to help support the channel, check out the Hudson Valley Seed Company and use my coupon code MARITIME10 to get a 10% discount on whatever you buy. In addition, all seed orders over $35 will get free shipping. They have a great selection of seeds, so maybe give that a try this year, and that'll help support everything I'm doing here. Thanks a lot.